Come on in. Happy Friday Eve. We got one more day to go, and we're going to be here at Friday, and I am looking forward to it. Come on in. Make sure you got your popcorn and drinks. We got some things we need to get into. Welcome to Aries Rose TV. And if you're not familiar with me, my name is Aries Rose. And on this channel, we talk about streaming shows, movies, TV shows, pop culture, local news, world news, politics, basically anything I find interesting, I come on and discuss with my Aries crew. And tonight we have a great show lined up for you. So we have to get some updates here on the Diddy trial. The prosecution rested their case earlier this week, and then there's been some modifications to the charges that Diddy's facing. So we'll get caught up on that and get some updates to see what's taking place and what we're where we're at right now, pending a verdict in this particular case, which the defense is trying to get it dropped. The charges dropped. And then we got Tyrone Blackburn, who's an attorney that's been representing quite a few people. Like he's representing Little Rod against Diddy, and one of the lawsuits that's been filed against Diddy, he's been arrested. So we got to get into why he was arrested. Fat Joe has a response to Tyrone Blackburn, who is an attorney for, I believe his name is Terrence T.A. Dixon, was a former hype man for Fat Joe, who's suing Fat Joe, saying that he's had inappropriate relationships with underage girls. So we're going to get into Fat Joe's response to that because he does adamantly deny those allegations. The cause of death for Rihanna's father has been revealed, so we'll get some info on that. And Karmelo Anthony, the teenager out in Texas who was involved in an incident with another high schooler, Austin, I believe was his name, Austin Metcalf, and he lost his life during this interaction that these two had. He's been formally charged with murder. So we got to get some updates on that because it's been a little bit since there was anything going on with that one, and we're following that particular case here on Aries Rose TV. And if you've been on a live before, you know the drill. If you are a returning Aries crew member, leave hashtag Aries crew in the comments. If you are a first time watcher, leave first time watcher in the comments. I want to give you a shout out for stopping by and spending part of your day here. As you come in, like the video, it's a free way to support the channel and it goes a long way. It's greatly appreciated. If you're on Instagram, follow us there at Aries Rose TV. We're looking to grow there. Let me know you're from Instagram and we'll follow you back. And also, I'm going to be pinning in the description of this video here after it's uploaded a GoFundMe. We're putting together a memorial for the father of my two younger children who passed away unexpectedly because we didn't intend on that happening here. We didn't have the finances to do a memorial, but we really would like to show him some respect for what he meant to our lives and what he meant to my children. If you can, any amount is greatly appreciated. I also have the GoFundMe on the community tab on the page. Really appreciate your support that way. We're learning how to have a new life without this person being here, and it's an adjustment because they are minor kids. So we're just figuring it out and taking it day by day, but it's definitely been an experience. And once everything is said and done, because there's a lot of stuff I have to take care of related to his estate, I want to do a video just kind of exploring through those feelings because I've been going through a lot of emotions and trying to document that, because a part of the human experience, unfortunately, is when that circle of life becomes full circle, you're going to lose people, and the closer they are to you, the harder it is to deal with. So stay tuned for that. Definitely want to talk through that because there may be some other people out here experiencing that same thing, and let you know you're not alone. And take a pause for some comments. Katie, thank you so much for stopping by, and I do appreciate your condolences. It means a whole lot. And we are going to get started into our first topic here. And we got an update here on the cause of death for Rihanna, cause of death for Rihanna's father. He passed away earlier this year, and now his cause of death is being revealed. So Rihanna, huge pop star, and now she is a $1 billion empire owner here with her Fenty products, her cosmetics, skincare. I think she's also got a hairline as well. And she's got two children that she shares with ASAP Rocky. So she's definitely in her era right now. She's doing really well in life. But, fortunately, her father has passed away. So we got a little bit more information on that. And this reporting from TMZ. Rihanna's dad, Ronald Fenty, died from cancer, pneumonia, and other serious illnesses. TMZ has learned Fenty's death on May 30th was caused by acute respiratory failure, pancreatic cancer, aspiration pneumonia, which is a bacterial lung infection, according to a death certificate obtained by TMZ. Other causes listed in the document include acute renal failure and acute tubular necrosis, both of which involve extensive kidney damage. TMZ broke the news that Ronald died last month at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in LA. Rihanna and Ronald had a rocky relationship through the years. The two were estranged for a long period of time before eventually reconciling. Back in February 2023, Ronald told TMZ he was over the moon about his daughter and ASAP Rocky expecting another child together. He was eager to be a part of the baby's life. Ronald was 71. May he rest in peace. Definitely my condolences go out to Rihanna. Having my children having lost their father, I definitely understand no matter at what age the loss of a parent is. It's a pretty heavy feeling. So definitely want to send my thoughts and prayers out to that family as well. And now let's get into Karmelo Anthony. So he's a teenager out in Frisco, Texas, who was attending a track meet, and it was an intramural track meet. So it was multiple schools that were involved in it. And he was under, at least as we know right now, it hasn't gone to trial, but from what we understand, he was underneath one of those little pop-up tents because it was raining on that particular day this incident occurred. And he was allegedly under a tent for a different school when Austin and his brother had confronted him under the tent, and they exchanged words. And apparently Carmelo Anthony felt like he was in danger, so I'm not sure if they physically touched him or what the case was. And at which point Austin Metcalf did receive some jabs, and he did lose his life. And that then kind of just kicked off a real controversial situation that had a lot of racial undertones because Carmelo Anthony is black and Austin Metcalf is white. So people were trying to give it a spin on a racial angle, but I don't think it had anything to do with that. We're talking about teenage boys in high school, and whenever there's sports or things going on of that nature, everybody's real territorial about their school. You're in real competitive spirit. So I could totally see that you wouldn't want somebody from that's not from your school under your tent. I don't think it would have mattered what ethnicity either of them were. That potential for that situation to be that way, I think, was just there because of the could have been teenage hormones, too much going on there, misunderstandings. I don't know what the words were that were exchanged between the two. Now, I don't believe anybody should lose their life because you're being confronted about where you are sitting. I don't think it should have resulted in anybody losing their life. And my heart does go out to Austin Metcalf's family. He was young. He didn't even graduate from high school yet. So I know that's a huge loss. No parent wants to bury their child. So I want to completely say, I understand the feelings around that because somebody did lose their life. But from everything we understand so far about Carmelo Anthony, he seems to be a really good kid, comes from a God-fearing family, does really well in school, loves his parents, had not been in trouble before. So I truly do believe that was a self-defense situation. I don't believe he had the intent to hurt this person or had the intent to take this person's life. I think he really thought he was defending himself, and that happened unexpectedly. But, it's also one of those situations where when you have something else involved, you always have that potential somebody else could lose their life. So very unfortunate situation on both sides. But we got an update. It appears he's been formally charged for Austin Metcalf. So we're going to get some updates on that. And as you come in, let me know where you are from, what city, state, or country. Drop that here in the comments. And let's get into this reporting from TMZ. Carmelo Anthony, the teenager who allegedly stabbed and killed a 17-year-old at a high school track meet back in April, has been officially charged with first-degree murder. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis announced the news just minutes ago, explaining a grand jury indicted Anthony earlier Tuesday. The 17-year-old athlete, as you know, had been accused of taking the life of Austin Metcalf during a dispute over a seat at the University Interscholastic League District 11-5A Championship on April 2nd. For weeks, Willis said in announcing the indictment, quote, "My team has been presenting evidence to the grand jury. Today, I summarized that evidence and I asked the grand jury to return a first-degree murder indictment against Karmelo Anthony, which they did," end quote. Quote, "With that indictment, the case now moves formally into the court system. From this point forward, we'll continue doing our part fully and fairly to pursue justice under the law. The trial schedule will be set by the court, but when the time comes, we'll be ready," end quote. Willis office announced if Anthony is convicted, he faces up to life in prison. Anthony's attorney, Mike Howard, issued a video response a short time after the indictment came down, and he stressed his client's actions were self-defense. Quote, "We are confident that when all the facts are presented and the full story is heard, the jury will reach the right conclusion and justice will be done," end quote. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this particular case. I don't feel like there's any winners in here. Carmelo Anthony's family was harassed after the incident to the point to where they had to move. When the family did a press conference, his mom talked about how her husband had to take time off of work because he was getting threats at work and it was becoming not a safe environment for him there and probably other people that were there by extension as well. And that's pretty sad because unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, in this country, you have to work to make money because you need money for everything. Everything needs money, and you need money for everything. So, taking that avenue away, obviously is going to cause a hardship for the family, but they did need to move for their own safety. So, their daughter that they have is having a hard time as well. So, even people who had nothing to do with the particular situation were being impacted by what was going on there. So, it's just incredibly sad all the way around. Very unfortunate incident that we could go back and reverse that because it's definitely changed the trajectory for both their lives. Whatever path Carmelo Anthony was going to be going on before that happened, it's definitely diverted because of this case. And now you're known and associated with something, just a pretty terrible situation to occur. The worst outcome for that situation happened in this instance. And let's get some more information on this. This is reporting from TMZ, and this talks about how Carmelo Anthony won't face death penalty. And the alleged victim's dad reacts. Carmelo Anthony, the 17-year-old accused of killing a fellow teen at a track meet earlier this year, will not face the death penalty, something the alleged victim's father doesn't exactly seem happy about. Anthony was formally indicted on one count of first-degree murder on Tuesday over his alleged role in the April 2nd stabbing at a high school track meet. And a short time after the charge was announced, law enforcement sources explained to TMZ Sports the death penalty won't be in play. We're told in addition to prosecutors simply not seeking it at just 17 years old, Anthony is also too young to be subject to the punishment. So it looks like if you are under 18, you can't face the death penalty based on what this is saying. Instead, Anthony's facing up to life in prison if he's convicted. Jeff Metcalf, the dad of Austin Metcalf, the boy who Anthony allegedly killed, told us he would have 100% supported the death penalty if Carmelo had been 18 at the time of the incident, but he wouldn't comment on if he'd be in favor of it no matter what Anthony's age was. Smart to not comment on that. Quote, "Doesn't matter what I think, nothing will bring my son back," end quote. That's completely understandable and completely true. But I'm glad that the death penalty is not on the record for that young man. But I do understand his father's sentiments, or the father of Austin Metcalf, his sentiments. He added, quote, "It's the law, unfortunately. If it would have happened 6 weeks later, he would have been 18. Then it's a different ball game. We have to play the cards we are dealt," end quote. Nonetheless, Jeff said he's pleased the case is moving forward. For Anthony's part, his attorney, Mike Howard, said in a video statement Tuesday his client's actions were self defense, and he fully expects, quote, the jury will reach the right conclusion and justice will be done, end quote, as the case unfolds in the court system. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. I definitely want to hear from you. We get some interesting perspectives here from the Aries crew, and I want to keep this conversation going. This is a case that I will be following, so you will get updates on this channel. So if you're interested in finding out, make sure you hit that notification bell. We'd love to have you find out every time we post videos, go live, post on the community page, and make sure you are following us. It's free to subscribe. We'd love to have you a part of the Aries crew. That way you'll always know what's going on over here and get your news for pop culture and everything else at one spot. And now we're going to get into Fat Joe. So Fat Joe recently had a lawsuit filed against him by Terrence T.A. Dixon, his former hype man. Or actually, we're gonna get into Fat Joe's response. Then we got to get into Tyrone Blackburn being arrested. So we got a lot of stuff to catch up on here. So Fat Joe, I'm Joey Crack from Bronx. TA Tyrone Blackburn, your days are numbered. This is reporting from TMZ. Fat Joe says he's going on a warpath against his former hype man and the attorney who's backing him with the same vengeance that allowed him to survive the mean streets of the Bronx. As we told you earlier, Tyrone Blackburn, the attorney who's representing Joe's ex-partner Terrence T.A. Dixon, was arrested for striking a man with his car, and Joe says he's nothing but a clout chaser. The legendary rapper released a fiery statement Wednesday in the aftermath of the arrest, once again ripping the lawsuit filed by TA that claims Joe was once diddling minors for his own sexual gratification. Joe notes 2025 has been a grueling year. Both his parents died in the past few months, which preceded the death of his longtime road dog, Raul Conde. That said, Joe said he survived the worst of the worst in the streets, and he'll be darned if legal extortion tactics bring him down. He's maintaining that once TA got fired, TA turned sour grapes on him. Fat Joe's attorney, Joe Takapina, cast his doubts over Blackburn's competence on TMZ Live earlier today. They're going for the jugular. So the former hype man claims that he was forced or made to by Fat Joe engage in actual activities, and that he has seen Fat Joe engage in actual activities with underage girls. I personally never heard any of those types of allegations tied to Fat Joe, so I honestly don't know if there's any truth to that. Just reading the tone of it, it came off to me like somebody who was mad at him and was trying to get back at him. So I can kind of understand a little bit about where Fat Joe's coming from with the sour grapes vibe, because that's what it was given to me. Like, oh, Fat Joe must have made you mad, because that was the energy that whole lawsuit was given. And I'm truly hoping that there is no truth to that, because Fat Joe is a very, very grown man who should know better than to be dealing with anybody who's underage. I mean, you have a lot to lose when you're on. I mean, nobody should be doing that to begin with, but especially at his level, you have a lot to lose. So I'm just not understanding why so many of these people find themselves in situations like this. I mean, a very clear line: under 18, stay away. There's plenty. You want somebody younger, find somebody younger, but under 18, no. I don't understand why that just kind of has a theme that comes up on occasion for people. Let me know your thoughts about the lawsuit in the comments. Are you surprised by these allegations towards Fat Joe? Have you heard of rumors like this before? Is it kind of like, it's par for the course? To me, it's surprising, but I'm feeling like that about a lot of these things. I was shocked about the Shannon Sharpe lawsuit because he kind of seemed to fly under the radar a lot. You never really heard too much about his personal life, and then all of a sudden for that type of lawsuit to come out, that kind of took me back. And he was definitely on his way, because he was on his way to get a $100,000 deal for his podcast Club Shay Shay, and I don't even know if that was still on the table or not once those allegations came out. Shannon Sharpe had to step away from ESPN. He says it was temporarily, but I don't think he's going to be coming back on there anymore. He is still doing his own thing. He's still doing Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, and he's still doing his Club Shay Shay, but it's definitely not going to be the same like it was before that lawsuit happened. Smokey Robinson, Motown legend, he's facing a lawsuit from 4 former housekeepers who claim he was trying to get it on with them and that's not something they wanted to do and that he was forcing himself on them. Diddy trial, of course, which we got to get updates on that. So there's definitely, and then Tyler Perry recently, a lawsuit coming out. So there's something in the air about what's going on right now. But definitely let me know your thoughts on it. I want to hear your perspective about it. And let's see what was going on with Tyrone Blackburn getting arrested here. So he's representing Terrence T.A. Dixon against Fat Joe, and then he's also representing Little Rod against Diddy. That's another case. I'm sure that's pending right now because of the federal trial that's going on, and he can't deal with 2 court cases at the same time. So his name has been out there for some of these high-profile lawsuits that have been filed here, and we're going to get this reporting from TMZ about his arrest. So more drama in the Fat Joe civil case. His accuser's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, just got arrested for allegedly mowing down a process server with his car in New York City. A rep for New York Police Department tells us Blackburn was taken into custody Wednesday morning and booked for assault. Cops say it all started on the night of May 12th when Blackburn got into his vehicle as a 66-year-old messenger was serving him a complaint in the Fat Joe case. Blackburn Blackburn allegedly slammed his car into reversed and backed up, hitting the process server in the leg, causing a minor injury. The victim reported the incident to the police. Now, as an attorney, I don't know why you would do that because you should know that's going to land you into some trouble. So I don't know if that was accidental or intentional, but I'm just shocked he was putting himself in a situation where that could have even happened. Blackburn's arrest stems from a messy legal matter involving Fat Joe and rapper's powerhouse attorney, Joe Tacopina, and he was the attorney for ASAP Rocky, who was recently acquitted on his federal charges, who was found not guilty. And Joe Tacopina is also representing Wendy Williams in a personal capacity, not in her guardianship legal situation, but he's her personal attorney, so his profile is definitely getting raised. He also represented President Trump in one of his trials as well, if I'm not mistaken. And he turned down representing Diddy. So he's definitely got a great reputation where people are trying to secure his legal services here. And from what I've seen of him during that ASAP Rocky trial, he appears to do a really good job and he was able to get those charges dropped. So I think that speaks for, or he was able to get him found not guilty, I should say. And let's get back into the story. Takapina tells us Blackburn sent a demand letter on behalf of Terrence Dixon to Fat Joe requesting $3 million for allegedly co-writing music with the hip-hop star. Takapina says they blew off the letter, but Blackburn followed up with another demand letter claiming Fat Joe was messing around with minors. Takapina says they wanted to get out ahead of the situation, so they filed a lawsuit alleging defamation and extortion against Blackburn and Dixon. That's when Takapina hired the messenger to serve the complaint to Blackburn. Dixon has since filed his own $20 million lawsuit against Fat Joe, accusing him of being a PDF file. We reached out to Blackburn. So far, no word back. So we'll keep you posted on here as any updates come up related to this particular situation here, as well as this Fat Joe lawsuit here. So we'll see if this ends up going to court or what ends up happening with this, as well as what's going to be going on with that attorney, Blackburn here. Give me a moment. And now we got to get into some Diddy trial updates. I know the prosecution rested their case earlier today, and the defense was saying they don't really need any time. They just needed a day because they weren't going to be calling up any witnesses. And to me, I think that's insane because this person's life, their freedom hangs in the balance of this, and there is not a single witness that can be called up on his behalf. No character witnesses, no nothing. All the people that have come into Diddy's orbit over the years. I'm shocked somebody like Stevie J, who had been, pretty publicly supporting him, isn't even going to be there testifying. And it looks like his longtime assistant, KK Christina Coram, that she's not anywhere to be found on that. Young Miami's not going there to talk on his behalf. So it's pretty amazing. I don't know if they just don't want to be under oath on it. They don't want to be involved in the trial, which could be a little bit of that. Not to say they don't support him. They just probably don't want to have any involvement with it. But crazy how you can have friends and people who are, so loving with you in their life and want you in their life until times get tough and then they run for the hills. So let's see here what is going on with this case so we can get caught up on everything that's happening here. And we got, all right. And this is reporting from TMZ. And this is a Diddy trial closing arguments timeline takes shape. So Diddy's federal criminal trial is entering the final stages, and we now have a sense of how the closing arguments will play out, or at least the schedule and timeline are taking shape. Prosecutors and defense attorneys were in court Wednesday while jurors were not present, and they hashed out a schedule for closing arguments, with prosecutors going for 4 hours starting Thursday morning and the defense making their case the following day. It was a pretty boring day inside the courtroom, with Diddy keeping a singular AirPod in his ear for much of the proceedings and mostly looking down at his lap. Two of Diddy's sons, Quincy and Justin, were in court too, and they were fighting to stay awake as was much of the gallery. The judge agreed to let prosecutors start at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Thursday and will go for 2 hours, and then court will break for lunch. When the court break is over, prosecutors will go for 2 more hours as they finish up their closing argument. Based on what the Fed said Wednesday, it appears Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic will be handling the government's closing argument, which is interesting considering prosecutor Maureen Comey is known for her closings. Diddy's defense team will make their closing argument Friday and told the judge co-lead counsel Mark Agnifilio will need about 3 hours to make his case to jurors. It sounds like prosecutors will be able to find an hour on a rebuttal will be able to spend an hour on a rebuttal when Agnifilio finishes. And it's unclear if jurors will get the case Friday or not until the following Monday, with the judge voicing concerns about the timeline as it relates to next week's looming 4th of July holiday when the court is closed. We're almost at the finish line, folks. So this case was supposed to go until July, and it's wrapping up faster than that. So we'll see if this defense did a good enough job to cast doubt in the juror's mind that Diddy may be guilty of all or at least some of the charges here. I am very curious to know what their thinking was behind not having any witnesses come up. I'm wondering if they just couldn't get nobody, or where they're getting this confidence not to think they don't need anybody to come up there and that they just need a day. Like, that completely blows my mind. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that that's a really short amount of time? I'm sure he's paying a pretty penny for this defense, and I don't know how much they consult with Diddy on what steps they're going to take, how much say he has in this, but this, to me, I think it's a huge gamble, and we'll see how it pays off. And then we got some more reporting on the trial here from TMZ, and this is from June 24th here. Rare moment in the Diddy criminal trial. The music mogul just spoke up in court, telling the judge how he's feeling, thanking him for doing a good job, and confirming his decision not to take the stand before his defense rested their case. The brief exchange Tuesday started with Judge Arun Subramanian asking Diddy how he was feeling. Diddy said, quote, "I'm doing great, Your Honor. I've been wanting to tell you thank you. You're doing an excellent job," end quote. The judge thanked Diddy for the comment and asked if he understood the decision not to take the stand was his and his alone. Diddy responded that he thoroughly discussed this with his lawyers whether or not to testify, and ultimately decided against testifying, which I think is a very good idea. Diddy taking the stand was always a long shot because it would have been a huge risk for his defense to allow him to be cross-examined by prosecutors. even though his attorney, Mark Agnifilio, told us before the trial he didn't think he could keep Diddy off the stand. We haven't heard much from Diddy at all during this 8-week long trial, and this was by far the most he said in court. Diddy's defense has now rested its case, and jurors are being sent home until Thursday when they will hear closing arguments. So it looks like both sides have finished up what they want to say to prove or disprove the case here. And we got this one about the prosecution resting their case. And it's reporting from TMZ. The end is near. Federal prosecutors just rested their case in the Diddy criminal trial in New York. The prosecutors just finished questioning the last of their 34 witnesses Tuesday afternoon and told the judge they were resting their case, and then the jury was dismissed for a lunch break. With jurors out of the room, Diddy's army of defense attorneys is now arguing a motion to dismiss 5 charges against Diddy. They say the judge should throw out the case against Diddy even before it's sent to the jury because prosecutors did not prove their case. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, 2 counts of trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors call witness after witness to the stand for over 6 weeks, including Cassie Ventura and Kid Cudi, but the defense is not planning to call any witnesses, meaning Diddy will not be testifying in this trial. I don't have a pulse on what I think could be the potential verdict here, but just from what I was reading on the highlights and the stuff that was going on daily with the court, I don't believe the prosecution has fully proved their case. But it will be interesting to see how the jurors interpreted it because they're seeing more than we see here. And if that ends up working in his favor or not. And we got a final one here about the closing arguments that took place today. This is reporting from TMZ. Diddy's daughters, who've avoided appearing in court for most of his federal trial, are right behind him for closing arguments, and the emotion of the day is showing on their faces. His twins, Jesse and Delilah, along with Chance, all held hands as they walked out of the federal courtroom in Manhattan. Their brothers, Justin, King, and Quincy also strolled to a waiting SUV along with Diddy's mother, Janice. The family's united front comes on the heels of prosecutors delivering closing arguments to the jury, laying out why they should convict Diddy on all counts, including trafficking and racketeering. One of the 18-year-old twins, who were dressed in matching white pantsuits, wiped away tears as they emerged from the courthouse and faced the cameras. Delilah and Jesse graduated high school last month amid all their father's legal drama, and they've only come to court for a few days of testimony. They showed up early on in the trial to support Dad, but understandably skipped sitting through the more graphic testimony from Cassie Ventura and others about Diddy's violent attacks and freak-offs. Tomorrow, Diddy's defense will make their case to the jury for acquitting the mogul as Mark Agnifilio delivers his closing arguments. No doubt Diddy's family will be on hand for that as well. So we'll definitely be back on live tomorrow to give you an update on what the closing arguments were for the defense and kind of where we're sitting and when there's going to be when it's going to be sent to the jury to deliberate on to deliver a verdict. I can't believe that the trial is here, let alone that the trial is ending soon. So we'll see where everything ends up going. But I think even if Diddy is found not guilty, he's already lost in the court of public opinion. I just don't see him being able to pick up his life again, and it won't be the same way as it was before because we can't unsee what we've already saw. We can't unhear what's already been heard from people who were testifying or from, listening to audio or whatever the case may be. So I just don't know if he'll have the same opportunities or businesses that will want to work with him or have their name associated with him or want him to promote their brand. I think he'll always have fans. He was definitely a huge part of the hip hop urban culture, and he did a lot for in music. In that, I mean, there was one time when it was all like pretty much all the hits were from Bad Boy. I mean, he had a huge hand in some of the stars that we know today, like Jodeci, Even though they may not be, at their peak anymore, they are still legends. They are still one of the best R&B groups and have some of the best songs, period. And they still sound good to this day. Diddy had a hand in that. He had a hand in Mary J. Blige, who she is great at what she does, and she still looks good for her age. I think she's in her 50s now, and her music is timeless. Yeah, I mean, she's still got those love songs for hurt girls that, didn't have relationships that went well, or guys weren't treating them right. I think Mary J., definitely carried that really well. He had a hand in her success, total. Faith Evans, not to mention, I think one of his biggest, Notorious B.I.G., Mace, 112. I mean, he's got his hand all over that era. So he will always have fans because he's got a nostalgic feeling and he put out good music, especially for the times. The soundtrack to a lot of good times. And back in those days when the club was clubbing, those songs would go off. So there will always be supporters, but I don't think he'll ever see the level that he was at before. And I don't know where he's at financially because I don't know how many ways he's still able to make money because Diageo's no longer doing business with him. So I don't think he's in, at least not with them, in the alcohol game anymore. He doesn't have Revolt TV anymore. I think he sold off a lot of his catalog. So I don't know how much is going on with Bad Boy music, but we'll see as this goes on. We may know as early as next week what his verdict may be, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think he may be found guilty or not guilty? Do you think he is guilty of the charges here? Let's keep that conversation going. The Aries crew always has really interesting opinions. Love to hear from you guys. And if you've been on the live this long, go ahead and join the Aries crew. We'd love to have you a part of the team. All you got to do is hit that subscription button and then hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, post videos, post on the community page. And YouTube has changed the community page, so you can also post comments on there to me. So if you have video ideas, you got some thoughts on some stuff that's going on, whether that be world news, politics, celebrity news, whatever, you can post that on there. You just have to be a subscriber to be able to do that. So go on over and visit the community page. I do post on there pretty regularly. I try to post daily, but if not daily, I definitely post pretty regularly during the week. So go check that out. If you're on Instagram, follow me there. We're trying to grow over there at Aries Rose TV. Let me know you're from YouTube and I will follow you back. We will be live tomorrow as well. We got to do a review on Megan 2.0. I had a chance to see that movie at an advanced screening. It was pretty good. Very different vibe than the first one. So if you're going to see that movie, no, it's not at all like the first Megan. And I have to say I like the tone of the first Megan more. But this one was a good time. It was a good time in a different way. So we got to talk about that because that movie is going to be opening here on Friday. And we also have some other movies I got to get caught up on and do some reviews on too. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Any help by liking the video or sharing this video out is really greatly appreciated. I absolutely love being on this YouTube channel. I love coming on and talking with you guys. It's been one of the highlights that I look forward to. So thank you for helping me to grow and for commenting and sharing all that good stuff on the page. It really means a lot. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Take care.